Hi, everybody. Welcome to Frugal Tech Live. It's Tech in Tuesday. This episode number 318, recorded Tuesday, March the 8th, 2011. And we hope we got a good show for you. Special guest John Atkinson joins us from the UK tonight. And stick around. I think we're going to have a whole lot of fun. We'll be back in just a moment, so don't go away. And we thank you all for coming by. And as a reminder, if you're watching us on Justin.tv, if you hit that follow us button, that shows your support for our program and what we're doing here. It doesn't cost you anything. And then come on over to live.frugalbrothers.com. That is where the chat room that we moderate is located. Today we've got John Atkinson on the show, joining us tonight from the UK. John, are you with us there?
I am. Good evening, Bruce. And good evening, everyone.
Oh, gosh. What a week it's been, John. You know, we've got the, I think since the last time we talked, the iPad 2 was introduced. And yep. Did you get a chance to watch the announcement on that? And I'd like to get your thoughts on that.
Well, I did watch it. What I was surprised at was they've done a front and back camera this time.
Okay.
But they've not actually said what the specs are on the camera.
You're right.
You know,
I don't recall reading what the specs were going to be on the camera.
All they've said is that it's a 720p camera on the back end and it's VGA on the front end.
Okay.
But they've not actually said what the specs are, which... yeah, that's fine. They've now introduced a camera to the iPad, but what are the specs of it? Well, you know, it's everyone wants to know what the specs are of the cameras.
That's and that information is not. Well, let's take a look here. I mean, Ron Knight says people will buy it anyway. So you're saying it's not even on the Apple website what the specs of the cameras are?
Nope, not that I've seen anyway.
Okay.
Which I'm quite surprised at. You know, it is a bit top secret that these cameras...
It is.
You know?
Yeah, I think it is. Of course, there was a lot of speculation what was going to happen with the iPad 2. I heard things like we were going to look at getting a higher resolution display. Was one thing that was mentioned. We did get the A5 processor, which is no surprise. I think everybody called it on that, a dual-core processor now in the iPad. We did get the front and rear-facing cameras. Again, no big surprise. That was pretty much predicted on the iPad as well. As I understand it, in the next day or so, OS 4.3 is going to be released as well. iOS 4.3 is going to be released. So more, especially if you have like an Apple TV, there's going to be better integration with AirPlay with the iPad. There is an HDMI capability, right, for the iPad now, where you can send your video directly to your high-definition television, which is nice. Mm-hmm. So the question becomes, and this is something I found very interesting. I don't know if you picked up on this, John, or not, how it was introduced as a device of the post-PC era. Oh, I thought that was a very interesting phrase, post-PC era. Do you think that? Do you think this is it? Do you think we're looking at the next generation of PC when we look at the iPad?
Looking at the iPad, it's really nice compared to the previous version. I mean, they've made it slimmer. You know, it's more rounded. It's curvy. But I still don't put it into that category as yet because we've got to wait for at least someone else to catch up to Apple. And you know, as everyone says, no one is even touching them at the minute.
Oh, that's a fact. No one is touching them right at the moment. Let me just say some things to the folks in the chat room. Carlo, and folks, I am getting my own stand for the Mac Pro. It's on order. Let's see what else is in there. Speaking of all that, I want to make an announcement, and this is going to be kind of fun. I'm going to be giving away in the very near future a brand new Apple iTouch.
Oh,
how about
my God.
that? We're going to give one of those away. We're also going to be giving away 2 Pogo plug units as well. So we got some drawings coming up in the near future. For the hardware stuff, though, you do have to be U.S. based. Unfortunately, we cannot extend this to our friends in Europe and the rest of the world. But we're going to be announcing all the details on the giveaway of a brand new iPod Touch. I think it's the 32 gig model of the iPod Touch. So it's going to be a very, very nice prize, and we're going to have more information on that. The iPod Touch. Yes, an iPod. What did I say? Did I not say an iPod Touch?
I thought you said an iPod Touch.
I thought I said an iPod Touch. Did I invent a new product? I don't know. I did. Okay, iPod Touch, 32 gigabyte model. Oh wow, 32 gig. You said touch. Yeah. You said. Oh, I said iTouch. Well, there you go. I'm sorry. The iPod Touch. The iPod Touch. Yes. Anyhow, an iPod Touch. We're going to be giving away 32 gigabyte model. It's going to be a really nice unit, and it's going to be a great drawing. Any rate, so we're talking a little bit about the iPad. I think what was interesting to me though was the talk of the post PC product. I just think it makes it very clear the direction that Apple is going on. And I tell you, I think what else, John, I found really interesting was a conversation. In the conversation, Steve Jobs basically more or less laid out some of the competition, said they're not anywhere close, and that the iPad was about the humanities. Did you catch that?
I didn't catch that bit. What I am disappointed in, though, Bruce, is that, yes, the new iPad has got HDMI capability, but it doesn't come as standard. You've got to pay for it.
Now, what's that again?
You know, the HDMI cable.
Right.
Yeah, so it's $39.
You got to buy it separately, right?
Yeah, or 39 quid. It's an expensive add-on.
Again, to me, I have the only thing that I've got connected to I have a HD TV. Okay, I've only got 2 HD. It's a less expensive model. It's a Vizio. I'm not a rich guy, so I can't. My HD TV is getting a little age on it, and it wasn't a high-end model when I bought it. But it's got 2 HDMI ports. To one port is a connected our cable television, high-definition video recorder box. And then the other is interchangeable between a Xbox 360 Slim and Apple TV. Okay, so cool. I kind of go back and forth between those two. That's just a capability I probably really wouldn't use anyway. In other words, if I buy an iPad 2, I probably would not order the HDMI cable for it because I just don't see that's something I would use it for.
Yeah, I think Gordon's just summed it up by saying that not everyone wants it. So, you get it if you want it, and you don't get it if you don't want it.
Apple really charges big time for any kind of accessories for the most part. Their cables are way overpriced. Memory is way overpriced. A lot of stuff that they sell is kind of way overpriced. But the interesting thing is, I think the iPad is not overpriced.
No, that's really strange, isn't it? How they can bring something out at $400, $500. But you compare that for some of the memory for one of the iMacs or one of the Mac Pros. I'm still lost for words on how they do their pricing structure because it doesn't make sense.
Well, you know, I had on a few weeks ago, I had on the folks from Mac Sales, and I mean, they make a very nice living there selling, you know, memory and accessories and all that for the Mac product line, Apple product line. They've got people apparently that order from Apple have their product shipped to them, where they can they'll add the memory and do all the upgrades and all there at Mac Sales or OWC, and then ship it to the end user, and they save a whole lot of money.
It's, you know, I'm just at a loss. I mean, I know Gordon bought 8 gig of RAM for his iMac not so long ago.
Okay.
And he went through Corsair, but if he'd went through Apple, it would have cost him 2-3 times as much.
So Gordon got a 8 gig of RAM memory upgrade for an iMac. Is that right?
That's right.
Okay, and he paid $71 for it.
Yeah.
And
now,
that's,
if you went through Apple, you would have been paying $300-400.
Oh yeah, easy. I know that I just bought a 12 gig. You know, it was 3 4 gig sticks from OWC, and I think I paid like $214 for it. But if you'd went through Apple, I would have paid way more than that. So they make a lot of money on the accessories side of things. Well, what they did right was gave you a lot more bang for the buck with the iPad 2. You know, radically improved performance of the machine.
Yeah, dual-core processor, even though it's still only 1 gigahertz. But it's dual-core.
Right, it's dual-core. And they did a great job with it, and they kept the prices in line. Ultimately, I'm going to buy an iPad. Okay, I just know it, even though I keep saying I can't really find a use for it. I'll probably get one. It'll be refurbished, of course. I always do that. You know, speaking of refurbs, you know, Ron in the chat room, he just got a new an iPad, but it was a refurb. So the day they, you know, announced that, he was able to get a refurbed iPad. It saved himself, you know, $150. And, you know, to me, that was a wise decision. It saved a lot of money. You know, I bought a new MacBook Pro the day the newest generation was announced. Okay, refurb. And, you know, I saved a ton of money. You ever buy refurbished stuff, John? Do you ever buy refurb? Do you?
I bought a Dell Mini. It was refurbed. But I got a 3-year guarantee with it. If I'd went to Dell and bought it, I would have gotten just 1 year standard. I am such a lover of refurbed. You know, because I think refurb, it doesn't mean that it's soiled in any way. It does mean, however, that it's been back to the factory and it's probably been better looked at by going back than if you bought it off the shelf brand new. And you save a ton of money.
Well, there's some times, and I don't know if, you know, people are aware of this or not, but big manufacturers, what they will do, it's a technique called channel stuffing. And what they'll do is they will get with a big reseller of their product and say, tell you what, we got to move X number of units of this model. We will send them to you, mark down the price, and whatever you don't sell, ship back. Okay? And that's called channel stuffing. And that will allows them to build in, you know, bigger quantity, negotiate a better deal with the manufacturer of parts, etc. It's a money-making deal is what it is. It's called channel stuffing. And then if ultimately not everything does get sold, perhaps, and then what happens, those units are then returned back to the manufacturer, where many, many times they'll find themselves in the refurb section or the manufacturer's outlet store. So they're brand new box, never been opened, brand new merchandise, but it's a direct result of channel stuffing that you got that product. I don't think a lot of people's aware of that. It's never been opened, never had a problem, but it's just that they convinced a reseller to buy a lot of product from them, a lot of this model, then who couldn't then sell it and then send it back. Kind of an interesting thing. I didn't know if you had heard of that or not, John.
I'd heard things along the line of that, but I didn't know it was called channel stuffing. But hey, you learn something new every day. It's a pretty widespread technique out there that happens. Pretty much the only computer I bought brand new was another MacBook Pro that the Queen took away from me, and we all got it. Well, moving on. I just think the whole idea of very interesting when Steve Jobs started talking about the humanities. What he was saying was that the other players in the game that are making tablet devices very much are trying to sell tablets the same way they did desktop PCs, based on specs, video, memory, storage, all that sort of thing. Okay, whereas the iPad is being sold on the whole user experience, and he talked about the humanities, where it's about literature, it's about video, it's about music, it's about all these things, and so the question becomes. Does an iPad blow away an Android-equipped tablet device as far as that is concerned? Or are these manufacturers making a mistake trying to sell their tablets with the same philosophy they used with netbooks that they used with PCs? They're just not competing, are they? Oi! Steve, I can see you. Don't worry, you pal. I'll get you.
Oh, looks like Steve from the Tech Buzz is in the chat room. How you doing, Steve? Steve probably getting a brand new iPad too, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah, but he doesn't want to stand in line. He's too lazy to stand in line.
Who does? I'm too lazy to stand in line. What is it, Friday? Best Buy is supposed to have a bunch of them, so I don't. Hopefully, not too many people have to really stand in line to get one.
He's he won't stand in line whatsoever. One little bit.
But you'll notice that Apple concentrate on the app. It's really all about the apps, right? And I was very impressed with the demonstration of GarageBand on the iPad. I was very impressed with that.
I did like that. It's not going to be down everyone's street because not everyone's going to use GarageBand. But I was impressed with the way it worked.
I will
give them that. I was impressed. But as we were going back, Bruce, I don't know what manufacturers are thinking because they're trying. I mean, some of these tablets that are coming out, like double the cost of an iPad. You can't compete and justify that kind of price.
I don't see how, and already people are saying, you know what, if you were thinking about like the Zoom, the Motorola Zoom, hold off. There's problems with it, and of course, not to mention the fact it's way overpriced.
Yeah.
Okay.
Way overpriced.
Okay. And the whole, and I really don't want to get into the whole app situation. Android's got 50,000 apps. Apple's got so many apps. I don't really care. It's just I want good apps. Right?
Yeah.
That's what I want. I don't really care which side of the camp has got the most apps in their app store. I just want the apps that I do get to be good quality apps.
Yeah. And what I will say about the Android is they have a program called Navigator, which is a GPS program. Which I use when I've been away on business, and it is so good, but it doesn't cost anything. It's standard. I can't believe it. You go to Apple, and it can cost you like £100 for a decent GPS program, navigation program. But this is free on Android. It's part of Android 2.2.
Yeah.
Or is it 2.1? I can't remember anyway. But all I know is this program works. It doesn't send you up one-way streets. It just works. And that is what I want out of a program.
I think that's what everybody wants. They want good quality software. Rather, like I said, I mean, the way I look at it, I want good quality software. I'm not as concerned over the number of apps. Just the other day, Google basically deleted some malware type, or some apps from the Android store. And then they did a remote wipe. This is interesting. Not only did they delete these apps from the Android online store, but they also did a remote wipe of those apps on the ones that were installed already out in the field.
Now,
is that not interesting or not? They actually, Google did that. They did, and of course, the whole reason being is that applications do not go through the same quality control checking that Apple does before they're accepted to the App Store.
That is really interesting that they have done remote wipes, because I wouldn't have thought that that Google knows who's got what. But if they've been able to do remote wipe, obviously they're keeping track of everything.
Well, yeah, they for them to know that what apps you've got installed on that phone, probably it was basically more of a command to say, if you've got these apps, then institute the wipe. But nonetheless, Google knows exactly what's on your phone.
Yeah, it just goes to show how much they're keeping track of everything.
Now, do you own a tablet device by any chance, John?
I have a 5-inch Dell Streak, and that's about it.
You bought one of those, huh?
Yeah, I did actually. I'm stupid enough to buy one.
Well, you and the other 4 people in the world that owns one. I know. I used to tease my stepson Dennis, because he's a big opera fan. And every time they would have a major point release, I go, "Oh, that means they've got one more user that actually uses it."
Oh,
is
I'm
that
not
kind of
even
cool?
Getting into this conversation.
No, I'm just. What are they up to now? Like version 15? We got 15 people using it now. I'm just kidding. I'm sure. I'm sure Opera is just fine. Yeah. I just think the whole way that the market is working, and then of course Microsoft says that we're not going to have a tablet OS ready until late 2012, right?
Yeah.
What's interesting to me on that point, John, is, and this is kind of interesting, the iOS was developed specifically for these small platform devices, the iPad, the iPhone, Apple TV, the iPod. Apple didn't really try to take OS X and shrink it down to run on these devices. Okay? They developed specifically for these devices. Now, Microsoft, on the other token, is, I think, doing the opposite. They're taking Windows, big honking Windows 8, and they're going to try to shrink it down to where it'll run on a pocket watch. Do you think that's a mistake?
Big mistake. Apple, by the time 2012 comes about, Apple's already 2 years in front. How can anyone catch up? They can't. I can see what's going to happen is Microsoft will release it, and they'll release it rushed, so it's not perfect. It'll have all these flaws, and then you get massive updates all the time. Whereas you don't with Apple. Apple
you don't even get to massive updates on time, John. Take a look at Windows Phone 7. When was that released? Last fall. It was released last fall. Okay. With crippled capabilities, no multitasking, other things that it can't do. Right? And and they had to do an update of the update service in order to then in turn push out the really big update, what they call Mango. Mm-hmm. And Mango's now been delayed till the end of 2011, so people are still running around with crippled phones. That I don't get. I mean, look how far we're going to be. What, iPhone version 5 by the time they even have a fully functional smartphone on the market.
I would not be a happy bunny if I would not be a happy bunny getting that kind of treatment. You know, that is just ridiculous. It is absolutely ludicrous. And they've been pushing Windows Phone 7, and look at the state of it. It's in a mess.
Well, it's going to go away, John. By the way, I want to remind you, if you're watching on Justin.tv, hit that follow us button. That shows your support for what we do. And then also join us at live.frugalbrothers.com. That is where the live chat room that we moderate is located. We've got John Atkinson joining us today, and we're just kind of talking about tech in general. And, you know, as much coverage as tablets get, there's always different perspectives of these things. And I'm really interested in the whole Microsoft side of things as well. I just don't think that they're going to do well taking Windows 8 and then trying to cram it down to run, on a tablet device. You know, their first push, of course, they have to get to run on ARM processors. And ARM processors are typically used in these small form factor devices. And so you take this big operating system and try to make it run on something small. Where I think the beauty of the iOS is it was designed with these, and of course Apple has taken some of the best things of the iOS, and now they're going to bring it over to the new big cat that may be released this summer called OS X Lion. And we're going to talk about Lion in just a few minutes when we come back from this short break. Coming up here in just a moment. Maybe we're going to go to break. I don't know. We are going to go to break? Okay, we'll be right back in just a few seconds.
GFI Software provides a single source for networking, security, monitoring, and hosted IT solutions for small to medium enterprises. GFI's extensive suite of award-winning on-premise solutions includes anti-spam, email security, email archiving, endpoint antivirus, centrally managed backup, event log management, server-based faxing, network monitoring, removable device control, vulnerability scanning and patch management, and web filtering and security. GFI also offers a suite of hosted solutions including email security and continuity, frontline email defense, and monitoring and remote management. With award-winning technology, an aggressive pricing strategy, and a strong focus on the unique requirements of small to medium-sized enterprises, GFI Software can satisfy your needs on a global scale. Please visit us online at www.gfi.com.
And we're back with John Atkinson talking a little bit about the iPad, so forth. I want to remind you, if you're watching on Justin.tv, come over to live.frugalbrothers.com. That is where the live chat room that we moderate is. I also want to announce in the near future we're going to be having some giveaways, including a brand new Apple iPod Touch. Not an iTouch. That's a product in my mind. It does not exist. It happens. We're also going to be giving away a couple Pogo plugs as well. We'll have more details on that coming up shortly. And then looks like we're going to have Gene Marks on the show on a special episode of Frugal Tech Live on March the 30th. He is a contributing editor to the technology section of the New York Times. Does Fox News. He does a lot of stuff with small business tech. Gene Marks is a columnist. That will be a great interview. We look forward to having it. John, so we were talking about taking the Windows 8, which Microsoft is basically going to scrap Windows Phone 7 and they're going to come out with Windows 8, and it looks like Windows 8 in and of itself is, I'm going to say, probably due for a private beta, maybe about the third quarter this year, late fall this year. Probably we may see a private beta, and then a public beta in the spring, maybe of next year, somewhere around there. And general,
hopefully, I'll get notification about the private beta, because I do beta testing for Microsoft. Even though I'm a Windows guy, I don't think Windows 8 is going to work.
Really? What makes
I'll be very surprised. They can't get.
Okay, well, give us a reason for that.
Look at Windows Phone 7. Like you said, it's crippled. How are they going to reverse that? And I just can't see it happening, Bruce. I can't see them, stripping it down and getting it to work with all the functionality that you'd expect. However, if it doesn't, I don't expect Steve Ballmer to be in a job very long.
Well, the thing is, Microsoft is suffering from a brain drain. Okay, they're losing a lot of talent. They've had a lot of, they kind of remind me of a former heavyweight boxer, that could bully and intimidate. I mean, there was a time Microsoft folks, literally, if you had a new idea, a new business idea you're going to bring to market, Microsoft, all they had to do was just write a small blurb saying, we're thinking about getting in that business ourselves, and everybody would just scatter and go try to find something else. Okay, those days are over for Microsoft. They cannot bully and intimidate other companies anymore. Nobody takes them seriously anymore. And they've been defanged, I think, by not only bad management lately, okay, but also, they're paying for the consequences of antitrust violations. All these things has kind of crippled their ability to dominate the market that they have. And there's clearly, if Microsoft was still in the same positions they were a decade ago, we would not be. They brought out a tablet computer and they executed it horribly. Okay, horribly. Because they tried to make Windows, tried to make it basically in a different form factor Windows machine is all they did. Right? That's all Microsoft did.
Like I said, I'm a Windows guy. The next product I'll buy is going to be an iMac. I'll tell you that now. I've been upgrading this PC, and it works really, really well. But I'm losing faith in Microsoft products. If I'm losing faith, what about everyone else?
There's no doubt you see more Macs in the marketplace everywhere. Now, I love Windows 7 operating system. I'm the first one to say that. I just think it is a mistake to take Windows and try to shrink it down to run on a phone. I just think that's a mistake. Now, if you take a look at what Apple's done, okay, they very much re-engineered the whole thing to specifically for these small form factor devices. And they're taking the best idea, because now that it's becoming a mature product, they're taking some of the best ideas of that, and they're going to put it into OS X Lion. Okay? And that is kind of and it's an evolutionary kind of thing. The more of the gestures are going to be in there, what they call, is it Launch Central? There's different things in Lion. Every time I think of the way like Apple handles operating systems versus Microsoft, some things really get to me. I think number one, Microsoft made too many versions of Windows. Yeah. Okay.
There's too many versions. At the end of the day, this
Mission Control is what it's called. Thank you, Fluffy Bunny. Yeah, Mission Control is going to be built into it. But don't you think there's too many versions?
There should be two versions.
I agree. There should be two versions of Windows, right?
Yeah, and that's it.
A home version, a business version.
Yeah, that's all you need.
And leave it there. Now, with Lion, they're going to go ahead and include the Lion server as part of the install. You will not have to buy Lion server. It comes with the Lion operating system.
And how much does it cost?
What?
It costs about 60 quid.
Yeah.
How much does Microsoft Windows cost? 100 plus.
Well, Microsoft would never throw in the server product as part of the deal for Windows.
Never.
You're never going to
Ever.
happen. Never. That's right, Ron Knights. Really, Lion server is part of Lion OS. So if you want to run your own server, it's going to be there. It's going to be baked right in. If you want to have your own mail server, you want to have your own address book server, run your own LDAP on there. All that is going to be wiki server. That's going to be. I don't know if they're going to put podcast producer in as part of the deal. I would guess that they will. But all this is going to be baked right in, and one version of the OS, and they're done. You can't get any more simple than that.
Yeah. It's, I've got to agree with Gordon on what he's just said, is that Apple will never touch Microsoft on the server side. We already know that Apple have stopped selling their servers, their One U servers, because they're not selling. They're too expensive. I can't grasp how they come out with, like I said, their pricing structure. The iPad is bob on for what it does. 400 quid, and it does everything you want it to. Then why go and pay silly money for an Apple server that costs like 4 times the cost of a Microsoft server?
Now you're referring to X. What are you referring to?
They used to sell their One U servers.
Yeah, the Xserve, right.
Yeah, which they've stopped selling now. Probably because no one was buying them, and because of the price point.
No one was buying them. No, absolutely not. No one was buying Xserves. At least not any quantity to justify making them.
Well, looking at the price, they're just not going to touch Microsoft in that respect. But I can say Microsoft.
Well, yeah, but Microsoft doesn't sell the hardware.
No.
Okay.
They don't.
No, they don't. So that's kind of an. I don't know, John. I'll respectfully disagree with you on a certain area. Okay. I mean, because you're not really comparing apples, no pun intended, apples to apples on that one. Because Microsoft was just selling the OS now, and you can currently buy Snow Leopard server separately. All right, I think it's $599. But the thing with the Apple server product, it's an unlimited number of users. Where when you buy a Microsoft server, you have to get client access licenses or CALs to go with it. You got to not only buy the server operating system, but then you got to buy the access licenses for it as well. Okay, and I think if you just buy like Windows Server 2008 R2, okay, you're going to get five CALs with it, and then you've got to buy you got to buy more and more and more. And if you set up another one, Exchange server, then you got to have the CALs for all that. So with OS 10 Snow Leopard server, you get an email server. You kind of get an Exchange-like experience with it, and it's all baked into that $599. So then it's just talking a matter of hardware. Admittedly, very few people bought the Xserve. So now the Apple alternative is is a Mac Pro or a Mac Mini. And apparently a lot of people are using Mac Minis to run Snow Leopard server because, it's an adequate server platform for a very small business.
Right, okay.
Okay, and you can get that for $9.99. So I think that's what the price is, $9.99. And you have an unlimited, so here you got a server with unlimited user accounts, no CALs to buy, email server, a wiki server, podcast producer. You've got all that baked in for under $1,000.
Mm.
You're not going to get close to that on the Microsoft side for that amount of money.
No. And how many people do you know that uses Xserve?
None.
Same here.
About the same number of people that own a Zune. I think about the same market, isn't it? I don't know.
Yeah, it's just the way the market is. A lot of people have got faith in the Microsoft product in that respect. Whereas Xserve, we wouldn't be able to use them at work because we wouldn't have anything that would be able to run on them. We make our own in-house apps that are specific to us. They just wouldn't run.
Let's go to the chat room. What Gordon is saying is talking about companies that I deal with use Xserve. They hate it, and they're replacing with Small Business Server 2008, etc., and then linking the Macs into them. Macs have really made a lot of progress on how they work in a Active Directory domain. That is true. And I'm kind of, in a weird kind of way, that's sort of what I'm doing. Gordon, is we're tied to hosted Exchange server. We don't have a domain controller. Although I am thinking about somewhere in the future getting us another small business server and setting it back up. But it'll be 2011. I think small business server, the essential small business server, I believe. Just to so we can play around with Active Directory and do some other stuff. Now, as far as Mac Minis go, really depends on what you're going to be using the server for. I think that you could definitely handle over 10 users for just ordinary stuff with the Mac Mini, just for like email and that sort of thing. I think you're right. If you started, a lot of people try to use it as storing a lot of files on, pulling down a lot of email. You got a really busy network, then that might be overkill. So then the idea is to get it on a Mac Pro. But if you think about this, if you were comparing functionality-wise, a Mac Pro equipped with Snow Leopard server compared to getting a hardware-wise, a pretty similar hardware from Dell or Gateway or HP, I shouldn't say Gateway, but HP or Lenovo, some of the others, and then throw in the cost of the Windows server, the cows, Exchange server, the cows, SharePoint, not Foundation, not Share. I don't not because that's free. You get that for free, but SharePoint, you get all this capability on there. You'd be way over the price of way over the price of a Mac Pro running a Snow Leopard server. I guess it all depends. But here's the interesting point. Now, once OS 10 Lion ships, it's going to ship with the server. So, what about the iMac running Snow Leopard server? Now you've got a machine that's way more powerful than a Mac Mini, way less expensive to buy than a Mac Pro, and a very nice form factor.
Yeah, I think it just slots in quite nicely there.
Doesn't it? I think that would be a great solution for a lot of small businesses. Is a new iMac running Snow Leopard or a Lion server.
Yeah, I've got to agree with you. For a lot of small businesses, they don't need anything majorly powerful. They just want something that works. And if it works, they're hitting it on the head.
Well, and I tell you, I just read a survey the other day after, we did talk a little bit about the Gmail bug happening back in, last Monday, I think in February, the 28th, when over the weekend, a bunch of email disappeared, that kind of thing in Gmail. And apparently, according to a recent survey I just read, it's taken the other day, at least 50% of companies never plan on hosting their email. They're always going to. Their plans for right now, as it stands, is to keep their email in house, no matter what.
I'm surprised at that. I mean,
I was a little surprised, but when you get a big thing, like a big wipeout like happened with Gmail, even though it might have affected a small percentage of users, that just reinforces I think some people's fear of hosting their email somewhere else.
That's right, and you're a big fan of the cloud as well, aren't you?
I am. I have been.
But how long ago was it when Microsoft had the same thing happen?
That's right there.
Ago?
Yeah, right there. And Microsoft is not going to get off scot-free on this because the same exact thing can happen.
Mm.
And, it's not that difficult to back up your web-based email. You can do it through Backupify. You can get up to 2 gigs free account of Backupify. And not only back up your Google Docs, but you can back up your Gmail to them. You can set up to enable POP on there and use a desktop client like Thunderbird, Outlook, whatever, to download copies of the email to your hard drive so you have it that way. I mean, there's several different ways you can back up your cloud-based email. But I just think I was just looking at this survey, made it very clear that as it stands today, half companies out there have no intention ever of moving to cloud-based email and so forth. So that means that the server market for email servers is going to remain pretty doggone strong for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, I've got to be honest. I could never move to the cloud. Seriously, I don't trust it. I'm not confident in that if I use it 100% of the time, that it's going to work 100% of the time. But maybe that's just me. I want something that I can be relying on that's going to work. What happened to Gmail last week? They're saying it was how many percent? 0.8 or something percent of people were affected.
0.02, I believe, it worked out to about 150,000 people.
Yeah. See, that's still 150,000 accountants too many.
Oh, I totally agree. And in my show I did on Sunday, I felt that Google handled the whole thing incorrectly. They tried to marginalize the incident by, pushing out statistics by saying, well, yeah, we've got a problem, but it's only affecting 0.02% of all of our users, blah, blah, blah. That was the wrong way to handle it, in my opinion. Okay. And I think it did ultimately more to harm Gmail than not. It got me to thinking, though. I mean, maybe a Mac Mini running Snow. I keep wanting to say Snow Leopard, but running Lion server. Because you know what, I'm going to be able to buy a server OS for what? What's the upgrade going to be? $130 or something like that. If that much, to upgrade from Snow Leopard to Lion. So think about it, for $130 or less, okay, I could take a Mac Mini, throw that on there, set it up as an email server, wiki, address book sharing, and all that right there. Host my own email again, no big deal to change MX records and point them to the server, and boom, I'm back in business. I mean, it's just, again, an idea. Gordon says percentages means nothing. I agree. I agree. But my point was that I felt that Google was trying to marginalize or minimize the severity of the situation by burying people in the statistics end of things rather than being more upfront about what was going on. That was my point.
I've got to agree with you on that. I'll put my hands up, and I'm going to agree with you on something, Bruce.
Okay.
It doesn't matter how many people were affected. Percentages mean nothing, but one is one too many. When
you're going around and trying to talk to a small business about moving your email, say, to the cloud, and how, about the whole uptime guarantees and all this kind of thing. This gives people pause to think, well, maybe it's not such a good idea. Maybe we should have our own internal email server. And now the introduction of, again, a couple things I like about OS X Lion. I like, if you ever look at Windows side by side with Mac, take a look at the text rendering on Mac, compare that to Windows. I think Apple does a better job in text rendering. I think the UI, again, this is subjective, but I do think the UI is, Apple's done a better job making it a little bit more attractive. They both use bitmap graphics in both operating systems, and I'm sure that's eventually going to change to vector-based graphics somewhere down the road. I just think that Apple's done a little bit of job making it cleaner. No slam on Windows. I think Windows 7 is absolutely a fantastic operating system and a big, big improvement. Yeah. But my biggest beef about Windows has been and remains that Microsoft's made it overly complicated to purchase the right version. There only needs to be two versions of Windows, in my opinion, and which is home and business. Okay. You have to be careful. The other thing is, though, I think Microsoft's kind of a victim of its own success, and by that I mean Windows gives you multiple ways to do the same thing, whether you're burning, CDs or DVDs or searching for things, whatever. Microsoft will give you multiple ways to accomplish the same task, and the reason for that is you've got users that like to do things one way, and then you've got users that like to do it another. And so when you're trying to mass market a product for both groups of users, you have to do that. Where Apple, takes the stand, this is the way you're going to do it, and this is the way it works.
Yeah. I've got my own way that I like to burn stuff, as it were.
Okay.
And I only use one product now, and it's not built into Windows. It's a program called Image Burn.
Oh, and yeah.
That program, to me,
that's a must-have.
There's nothing out there that can touch it.
That's a must-have.
Yeah, Image Burn, IMG Burn.
Must-have. Do you know? That is the one piece of Windows software. Or I should say the one image or the one burning application I've never had problems with.
Yeah. It just works.
It does. It is amazing that it's free.
It should be Apple.
It should be, but it's not. Image Burn, IMGBURN. Just a great free burning application for Windows. Was it Roxio? Let's see. Oh, I know.
It's like Nero.
Nero. I had nothing but trouble with Nero on Windows. I would get more, you call them coasters, whatever you want to call it, more bad burns with Nero than I care to shake a stick at. Use a free program, Image Burn. I get great burns every time.
You know what you were saying? What do they call those coasters?
Yeah.
It's not AOL CDs.
Thank God they're using their money at AOL to buy things like the Huffington Post rather than to mail us a bunch more CDs, right?
Exactly.
I mean, if there's any benefit to, AOL changing direction, that was one where you don't get 300 CDs a month in the mail. I used to hate... I don't know about you folks in the chat room or watching the show, but how many times do you recall getting your new copy of like PC World or whatever, opening up and about 14 CDs from AOL would fall out?
Oh, God. every magazine you bought.
Because if you you knew at the beginning of the month when all your magazines started rolling in, here comes the AOL. Yeah. Now they're using the money to buy the Huffington Post, so that fair enough. But Windows... is a victim of their own success in the way that they have to treat a wide variety of users. There's a billion people out there using Windows. And some are going to prefer to do things one way, others want to do it another. And so Windows, I think, tries very hard to be all things to all people on how you do things. Where, Apple kind of did things differently, and it's worked for them.
Well, yeah, I've got to agree with you on that. Microsoft have tried to make it so that it's for everyone, and it just doesn't work like that. I mean, all the different versions, but then you've got 32-bit and 64-bit. Rather than just giving the one OS that'll do both, they've split it. And
yeah, I understand what you're saying. And it's kind of interesting because, for example, my laptop, my Gateway runs 64-bit Home Premium Edition.
Yeah.
Okay, but I'm running Microsoft Outlook on that, and I was getting ready to install the 64-bit version when talking with some friends. They're going, no. You don't want to run the 64-bit version of Office. You want to run the 32-bit version of Office instead of the 64-bit. And I'm going, okay, what seems to be the problem? And then they started talking about things like lockups and crashes and all kinds of anomalies going on. So here I got a 32-bit software running on a 64-bit OS. Yeah, that's kind of nutty how all that's working.
Crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is.
Absolute craziness.
Are we going to assume that Windows 8 will be just totally 64-bit? I haven't heard anything saying that there'll be a 32-bit version of Windows 8.
No, I've not heard anything either through the grapevine.
I think that they want that to go away. I'm just saying. What do you think, John?
Do you think?
I think they do. I think Microsoft wants to see the 32-bit version of Windows die. But you know what? They're still actively waiting the countdown on the death of IE6, though, aren't they? That's the number one browser platform in China, by the way, is IE6.
I did notice one of my colleagues on Facebook actually put the IE6 countdown on it, because what do we use at work? IE6.
Right.
Seriously.
Right.
And a company as big as ours was still running such
a god-awful browser.
No, don't get me started on it.
No, I want to get you started. By all means, get started, John.
It's pure madness.
Oh, it is.
You can get IE8, you can get Firefox at work, as long as you put in a work request. It doesn't come standard. IE6 is what they give out as standard, and when you look at our intranet, IE6 just doesn't cut it. It's crazy. I still can't get my head around it. I think they just need to go, bump, get IE8 out there, and we'll take it from there.
And there you have it. I think I'm sorry, go ahead.
What also happens as well is, if we open up a browser window and it's not full screen, the internet looks a mess as well. It looks...
Well, it's not standards based. I mean, it's just not.
But IE6, it's about time everyone got rid of it.
I will tell you that I like IE9. I'm using the RC1, and it's a great experience. It's a perfectly fine browser. Although my main everyday browser is good old Google Chrome. That is what I use on everything, and it just seems to work better for me. But my second favorite browser would be IE9 at this point in time. Listen, we're going to go ahead and wrap up for the day. John, I always like to give our guests the last word. Anything you'd like to add to this?
No. Just thanks for having me on, Bruce.
Man, that hour just goes by so fast, doesn't it? Now, remember, I invented a new product. I did. I invented a new product. I'm going to patent this right away, the iTouch. For some reason, I have a hard time saying the iPod Touch, you know. Just iTouch makes more sense to me.
Yeah, well, I touch, you touch.
And then we go to jail. We get arrested for something. Not good. Listen, we're going to be giving away a iPod Touch in the near future. We're going to have a drawing for that. And also, we're going to give away some Pogo Plug appliances. What's that, Queen?
What's the rules?
We will announce the rules and all that. But I do know that you'll only be available. We do know that the drawing for the iPod Touch will only be available in the U.S.
Right.
Okay, the Pogo Plugs I'm not sure about.
Well, we know what they need to do.
Well, the Queen's going, what's the rules? What's the rules? Well, I actually haven't sat down and figured out all the rules. Okay, fine. Okay, well, we know that they got to subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Thank you.
They have to follow us on Justin.tv.
Yep.
Okay, those are 2 rules right there.
Right.
You got to be in the live chat room at the time of the drawing.
You would think so.
You would think
follow
so.
you on Twitter.
Follow us on Twitter, and those are the main things to qualify, and then we'll take it from there. It'll probably be where we'll ask a question, and the first person to email us the correct answer will be the winner. And but we're going to be making all the details known when those drawings are going to be. A brand new 32 gigabyte iPod Touch, or as I like to call it, the iTouch.
Yeah. I touch, you touch.
Oh yeah, we're not getting kinky. The Queen might slap me, but we're not doing anything too weird. Okay, and for friend Steve Haywood from the Tech Buzz is still in the chat room. Then he does a show every Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, and great show he does. And just get a shout out to them. And Ron Knights does a show. We got a few people in here that does shows as well. Are you ever going to do a show, John? Or do you do a show? Or are you going to work on one?
I was getting geared up for it. And then when I got threatened with redundancy, because I've only got till Friday to try and find a new job, I just put it on hold for now.
Okay.
You know, I just want to be more stabilised before I do something, because I don't want to start something and not be able to finish it, because that wouldn't be me.
Well, you know, I think there's a big commitment to doing this, these shows, and you know, and for you guys that do them, you know as well as I do how much work goes into it.
Exactly,
it's a huge commitment, and we do it. We do it for the fun, really, of it, because I know I'm not raking in any kind of money for it, and we do it because we love our audience and we want to have fun talking about tech.
Exactly.
And the Tech Buzz says he does a show on Mondays too. Okay, so there you go, Mondays. You're doing a Monday show now, huh? You snuck in a show on me, Steve.
Yeah, as Gordon's just said, if it's not fun, move on. It's got to be fun.
There you go.
And I'm still having lots of fun at the minute. So.
All right. Okay. Well, I want to thank everybody for coming by and joining us this episode of Frugal Tech Live. We'll be back again Sunday with the next episode of Business Computing Weekly. And make sure you stop by and check it out. And remember to follow us on Justin.tv. And yeah, I know. And if it's in your shop, not making you money or saving you money, get it out of there, because why? I'm the Frugal Tech. I love saving money. I just do. Everybody's going to get coupons for Christmas this year. Coupons.
Yay.
Don't you love it?
Oh, I love saving money.
I do too. Talk to you later, everybody. Take care.
Bye, Bruce.
Bye-bye.